Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Premier Chess Adult Beginner Spring 2021 class, and this is week, I believe it's week 7. Yeah. So last week we did Territorial Domination, and I think I have a game prepared to continue that topic, but we have a request. We're going to go over the fried liver attack. Not suitable for vegans. I'm just joking. Chess is great for everyone. Okay, so fried liver attack is a variation of the king pawn opening. So we have e4, e5, knight f3. So basically, e4, e5, both good moves, right? Occupying center squares, right? One of the great principles of chess, basic opening principles, which is control the center, right? So e4 controls d5, occupies e4, also controls f5, right? Black counters that with e5, also controls another center square, d4. And then knights, everything developing towards the center is very beneficial. So knight towards the center, right? So attacking the unprotected e5 pawn and trying to control the d5 pawn, the d4 square. Okay, and then let's see. So now we can go. Let's see, fried liver. I think something like this. This. Oh no, sorry, my fault. Let's say this. Let's say here, something like that, right? Something like that. And so basically, it's attacking immediately f7, like outright, not allowing. So another opening principle is do not move the same piece twice. Why do I say that? Can anybody answer the question? Why is moving the same piece twice not recommended in the
Probably
opening?
not protected.
No, not for that reason.
You're going to lose tempo.
Right. So tempo or time, right? So the opening I like to describe as being a race, right? It's very important that you develop your pieces, which means get them from the beginning squares to squares where they're being productive and doing work, right? So bishop c4, good move. Knight f3, good move. Now white decides to go knight g5 and go all out assault on the f7 pawn. Good idea, but it's premature, right? I don't really like this opening for that reason. It's very aggressive, and so yeah. So the best move. What would you say, everyone? The best move to protect this f7 pawn. What do you guys think?
D5.
Right. D5 is pretty much the only move, right? The queen here doesn't really protect it. The knight can attack the bishop, but then he can just take here, or maybe just take the pawn immediately with the knight and fork the king and the queen, the rook. So yeah, so D5 does the best job. So E takes, and now here there's a couple of options. One option is that black does not retake. Black goes knight a5, attacks the bishop, gets the bishop off of this annoying diagonal, which is putting pressure on the sensitive f7 pawn, right? The other option is the natural recapture. So now here, so this is basically the fried liver attack, right? So using these two minor pieces, all out assault on the f7 pawn. So now there's another variation right here, which is knight takes f7. Now, the knight is not protected from the bishop, but sometimes, if a player is really aggressive, they're willing to sacrifice a piece, in this case, a knight, in order to get your opponent's king out in the open. And also, when the opponent king moves, that forfeits the privilege of what?
Castling.
Castling, right. So now, because the opponent moved his king, he can no longer castle. So this kind of lends black's king to being a little bit more vulnerable, right? Even though white sacrificed a knight, so he did all that to hopefully gain an advantage, right? And then we can increase the advantage, maybe queen f3, check. So now that's attacking the king, simultaneously attacking the knight, threatening to win back his piece, right? So what would you think, everyone, best move for black here would be? What do you think?
How about queen to f6?
So queen f6. Okay, what does everyone think? Good move or not so good move? What do you think?
Bishop takes knight.
Right. So this knight will be gone, right? So he's gonna white's gonna regain his sacrifice piece, and he's gonna be up a pawn, and also this king is gonna be vulnerable in the sense that he can't castle. He can't. So it's not easy to get the rook into play so quickly, and he's also threatening to take here, winning another pawn. You know, let's say if he blocks with the bishop, right? So yeah, there's
Forget
a
I said anything.
no, it's okay. It's okay. That's a good answer. So what's another possibility? Let's say black really wants to not give back that piece. So how would he what's the best response for that if he wants to do that?
I mean, king e6. It seems kind of crazy.
King e6 is the only move to maintain protection of this piece, right? So oh, by the way, that's another good good idea to go over is counting pieces, right? So what do I mean by counting pieces? Anybody know what I mean when I say that? So here this knight is like the focal point right now, right? So the bishop is attacking the knight and the queen is attacking the knight. So that's two pieces attacking. Now the queen is defending, king is defending. That's two pieces defending. So for now this knight is well defended, right? So if I mean white can still take the piece, but he'd just be trading. It'd just be a trade of bishop and queen for queen and knight, which would be the same, right? Because the knight and bishop are both worth 3 points, right? So it'd be equal trade. So, but this knight is pinned, right? Samantha, you understand that word pinned? Okay, good. So when something is pinned, it cannot move, right? Especially there's this type of pin. So remember the two types of pins, right? So what type of pin is this?
Royal.
Absolute pin,
Oh,
right?
absolute.
Yeah, that's okay. Absolute pin.
Times
And
I'm wrong. I quit.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And so what does that mean when it's absolute? What does that mean?
The knight can't move because it would put the king in check.
Exactly. This knight is pinned absolutely, and it cannot move. Like it's against the rules to move the knight, right? Why is that? Because if you move the knight, you'd be putting yourself in check, or black would be putting himself in check, and that's against the rules. You can never put yourself in check. So this knight is pinned. So what do we do for pinned pieces? What's the principle for that?
Put on the pressure.
Right. So chesskid.com. Samantha, does your son do chesskid.com?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's a great website for kids to learn chess. I recommend it to all the kids. It's free to join. But as you go through the chess, the video lessons, the guy who's teaching, his name is Fun Master Mike, he called himself. He says that there's a principle with pin pieces. He says you got to put PP on the PP. put pressure on the pin piece. Okay. Put pressure on the pin piece. So this knight is unable to move, right? So how do we increase pressure on the knight? What do you think?
Knight c3.
Exactly. Knight c3 increases pressure. I mean, this is a great move for more than one reason. Number one, develops the knight, right? Brings the knight into a good square towards the center, right? Increasing control over d5 and e4. Additionally, putting pressure on this pin piece, right? So beautiful. So this is the thing in chess. If you can make your moves to be multi-purpose, right? It's that much better. Your moves are that much more powerful. So this accomplishes two great goals. So we would say this is developing with tempo, right? We're developing a natural developing move at the same time as attacking, right? That's developing with tempo. So now we're attacking this knight 3 times, and we are black's defending it twice. So what do you think black should do here?
Knight to e7.
Right, knight d7. So normally I would say, because both knights can go to e7, normally I would say you got to specify which knight. But in this case, I know that you mean this knight, right? Because again, this knight is pinned, so he cannot move to e7, right? So good. So knight to e. So we more specifically knight c to e7. So now 1, 2, 3 pieces defending, 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking. So we're not really going to be able to win this knight because now white can no longer attack this again, because and even if he could, black can defend it again with c6, and so this knight is pretty solid there. So probably white's best move here would probably be to castle. Oh, the other principle in this when you're attacking is, do you think when you're attacking it's beneficial to like maintain more pieces on the board or trade? What do you think? What do you guys think?
White would be to trade.
So from white's perspective, he just sacrificed a knight, right? So basically white is down a knight, right? So would it be a good idea for him to trade off all these pieces? What do you think?
Not when you're down.
Oh, I think white's got more pieces developed, so.
Yeah, white does have more pieces developed, and the king is very safe. Now he's going to be ready to bring the rook in, but yeah. So in general, when the side that's attacking does not want to trade down pieces, why? Why is that? Say again?
No, I'm just commenting to myself.
Oh, okay. Does anybody have an idea why it's not a good idea to trade down when you're attacking, especially if you sacrificed for the attack to gain the initiative? Why is it not good to trade?
You lose the initiative if you do that?
Yeah, because you need all the pieces on the board for the attack, right? The more pieces that leave the board, the easier it is for your opponent to defend, right? And especially if you're down material, as in this case, the closer you are to the end game, the easier it is for your opponent to fight back, right? So like the advantage when you sacrifice a piece, right? The advantage is piece development, mobility, and quick development of your king, right? Quick safety. So now white is down a knight. However, he doesn't feel it just yet, right? Because his pieces are very active as compared to black's pieces, right? Rook, bishop, all these are very passive. So we got 4 pieces here, passive. Even the queen that didn't even move, and as compared to only 2 with whites, right? This rook is ready to join the game. So it's imperative that white continue the attack as fiercely and as quickly as possible, and don't give black the opportunity to develop, because once that happens, then he's going to realize his material advantage much more easily. All right. So
I have a question.
yeah,
You
yeah.
said something a minute ago about when you sacrifice a piece.
Mm-hmm.
I got confused. You sacrifice a piece to do what?
So you can sacrifice a piece to do many things, but in this case, white sacrificed a knight here to draw the king out, right? And so the king would become more vulnerable, and to hopefully impede black's development, and also accelerate our development, and then attack very quickly. So yeah,
Okay.
so that would be the reason in this case.
Thanks.
So yeah, so that's the fried liver attack, and I mean it begins with e4 e5. If you're into that, you can try it. So yeah, is that clear, Samantha? What do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's go over. Let's see here. Okay, so I got a game here. This is still on the topic of territorial domination, so we're talking about space here. And how to wield it, how to increase it, and how to decrease it for our opponent, right? So this is white is Capablanca, and black is Emmanuel Lasker. So white is Jose Raul Capablanca. Does anybody know who those 2 people are?
Well-known they're champions.
They're past world champions. This was played in 1921 in Havana. So Capablanca was he was a Cuban world champion and the 3rd world champion in the early 20th century. He's the 3rd world champion, and Emmanuel Lasker was the 2nd world champion that preceded him. And so this was a game between world champions, right? So white is Capablanca. So in this position, so we're going to be thinking about space here. So it's white to move. So I'm going to say, what's the best move for white? But first, let's just analyze the position, right? So you look at this position, and first of all, look at material. So is anybody winning materially here?
White lost its dark squared bishop.
Yeah. Okay. So white has 3 minor pieces. Black has 3 minor pieces. 2 rooks and a queen, and 2 rooks and a queen, right? So equal pieces.
Yeah.
And then how many pawns each? 7 pawns
7.
each. All right, so equal material. Okay, so now we look at position. Now, positionally, is either one dominant positionally? In other words, does either one have more space? Like who has more space and who is more cramped? What would you say?
White has more space.
Yeah, definitely white has more space. So the queen has a beautiful diagonal here, beautiful diagonal here. Bishop has a very nice diagonal here. Both knights are centrally or developed towards the center. Very nice effect they have on the center. Okay, now conversely, we look at black's position. This knight has a central location, so that's a pretty nice situation for this knight. However, look at this poor knight right here on the 8th rank, not doing too much. And this poor bishop here only has 1 square to move, blocked by all of these pawns on white squares. So this bishop is not too happy, right? We can say this is a bad bishop, as opposed to the white's light square bishop would be a good bishop, right? Because it's the opposite color as the pawns around it, right? That's the definition of a good bishop. Okay, so we say white is slightly better in terms of material. In terms of position. Okay, so now given that, so white does enjoy a little space advantage. So now the question is, how do we increase the space advantage? What do you think white should do here to increase his space advantage?
Pawn E4.
Yeah, pawn e4 is a natural move, right? Kicking the knight away and attacking the knight. So dislodging it from the central location. That is a good idea. So what do you think would be a good response for black? What do you think would be a good response?
F4.
Okay, so why f4?
The knight for black. F4.
Yeah. So why knight f4?
I don't know. He's moving forward. He's
Okay.
gotta move.
So here the knight is just easy to be kicked around, right? So I think here g3 and the knight moves again, and so basically white is slowly making improvements in his position, right? And he's moving forward slowly. So remember we said black is suffering from a space disadvantage, right? So we can say black is slightly cramped, right? So what would be a good general strategy for the side that is cramped?
Just trade off the knights.
Trade off pieces, right? This would be an excellent move. Why not trade off piece, right? There. And now black has 1 less piece he has to contend with. Maybe he goes up here. Maybe he tries to activate his knight g6, knight there. Or maybe c5, then b6, and then bishop b7. And now he's going to be occupying the long diagonal, right? So that's a good general strategy. Okay. So Capablanca did have that idea as well, but he first played the preparatory rook fd1 just to solidify control over the d pawn, as well as place the rook on the same file as the queen, right? Oh, hold on. So that was a basic general move, preparing for e4. He definitely wants to do e4. Okay, so now black responds with bishop d7. Okay, I don't know where the bishop's going. Maybe back here, but bishop's still not happy. Okay, so now he goes e4. Very natural move. Very good. Okay, so now again in this position, right? Black is cramped. Knight c6 would be the natural move, but he did not play that, right? Knight b6, and so the author gives this as a question mark, right? Because question mark would be a slight mistake, not a blunder, but a slight mistake. Because black is definitely cramped, and so he should have traded. All right. All right. So let's continue. So bishop f1. All right. Rook c8. Okay. So now here. So now he's activating his rook, or trying to activate his rook, and he wants to open up the c file, so he can attack the white queen on c2, perhaps. So what do you think white did? What would you do if you were white here?
I would think pawn e5.
Pawn e5. Okay. All right. So that gains the d6 square control for perhaps a knight can jump there. It does give back the d5 square for the knight. So here's the thing with space, right? Is as you advance, sometimes you have to make concessions, right? So it would be nice, if you could gain control of the d6 square and not have to cede the d5 square. But sometimes you got to make a choice. You got to say, well, maybe it's more important to get the d6 square. We can give back the d5 square, right? So okay, so it's a good idea for that. However, that's not really helping or not it's not really preventing black. So the one thing that we have to think about in chess, right, is not only what we plan to do, but also how do we stop our opponent from achieving their plans, right? So with rook c8, he definitely wants to open up the c file. So after e5, he may go c5 and eventually get that file open, right? And even if he goes up here, tries to keep it closed, trades happen, and again he's pretty happy now. Maybe he goes here, queen comes back, and now this bishop just needs to come onto c6, and he enjoys a beautiful diagonal there, right? So let's go back. So given that we know that c5 is coming, what do you think would be a good way to counteract that?
B4.
B4, yeah, that's what he did. He went B4. He says, I don't want you to open up the C file. Let's keep it closed, right? So, all right. So then he went bishop E8. Okay, so now what would you play for white here?
Knight to b5.
Knight to B5?
Yes.
No, that helps him open
Oh,
up.
wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Okay, what else?
Still in Colorado.
What else? Anybody?
What am I doing?
Another idea?
A4.
A4. Okay, that's a good move too. Yeah, increase space. So here's the thing, right? So when you have a space advantage, so definitely look how cramped black spaces are. They're very, very cramped, right? So when you have a space advantage, there is no need to rush, right? For the most part, there's no need to rush, and you can take your time, reorganize your pieces, and make sure that when you do break things open, that you will emerge with an advantage, right? So no need to rush at all. All right, so A4 is a good idea, but first, Capablanca went queen B3 just to get his queen off of this file from the rook, right? So he definitely did that. Preventative move, rook e to c7. So obviously he's really preparing to open up this file. He really wants to. Capablanca does A4. Then he finally activates his knight g6. Okay, so now here, white to move. What would you do here?
Maybe A5.
Yes, A5. That's what he did. Very good. So kick away the knight again, right? If you again, this is like increasing space and with a gain of tempo, right? And attacking at the same time. Very nice. So now this knight has two options: knight D7, knight A8. Which one do you think would be the inferior option? The worst.
A8.
Definitely A8.
Yes.
If the knight is not happy, so the knight's most happiest in the center, right? And just to give you perspective, again, a review, how many squares can the knight jump to from the center square? Does anybody have
8.
that? 8, very good. And what about from the sides? Either the 8th rank, first
4.
rank, 4. Very good. And then from the corners, how many?
2.
2. So almost completely useless in the corners, right? So definitely did not do knight a8. So knight d7. Okay, so now continue. What's the best? What did white do here?
Bishop C4.
Bishop c4. Let's see here. All right, that's interesting. So I assume maybe you want to open up this diagonal with d5 eventually.
Yeah.
Well, the kind of a downside to that is then you're just helping him activate his rooks,
Right.
which he's just waiting to do, right? So you don't want to do that so eagerly. So yeah. All right. So what else?
E5.
Say again.
I was gonna say E5.
E5, yeah, very nice. Again, taking control of the D6 square, and he has given back control of the D5 square, and it's going to take black 2 moves to reach it. But yeah, so he ascertained that here, getting control of the D6 square is definitely worth it, and I think that was a good move. So it says grabs more territory, keeps white's pieces out of F6, creates a wonderful home for the white knight on D6. Yeah, white gives up E5, but correctly assumes D6 is more important. All right, and also notice here, the color of the squares that these pawns are on the opposite as the bishop. I don't think that's an accident either, right? So it's very important to keep your pieces active and mobile, right? So he's maintaining the mobility of this bishop, right? The agility of it. Okay, so E5, B6. All right, what would you play for white here?
Bishop to A6.
Bishop to A6. Okay. All right, so that opened up that diagonal. Maybe rook here. I mean, it kind of seems like B5 is threatening to trap this bishop. Yeah, kind of seems that way to me. But it's an interesting idea, and now actually black is threatening to win this pawn, right, due to the pin on the queen. So interesting idea, but yeah, what else? What else? That's not what he played.
Knight E4.
Yeah, 94. So just continuing naturally along the plan, right, of planting the knight on this beautiful outpost right here, D6, putting a wrench in black's position, right? So 94 is a natural, logical move here. And actually, black played rook b8 anyway, because he sees that this b file might just open up as well. So, okay, what would you play here for white? What do you think?
knight d6.
Yeah, knight d6 is definitely the obvious logical next step, right? We're preparing to occupy this nice outpost. Although, if we did knight d6 now, why would that be a mistake? What do you guys think?
Is it because black would take a5?
Right. So always be mindful of what your opponent's doing, right? So you can have a plan, but always remember that your opponent has a plan too, right? So make sure you respond to what he's doing as well. So B takes A5 is going to win a pawn due to this pin on the queen. So we don't want that. So Capablanca did move his queen off of the B file for now. Queen C3. And now black comes knight F4. And now, yeah, so he's heading for the beautiful outpost on D5. Knight D6 occupies his outpost. Knight D5 occupies his outpost. They both have a nice outpost. Queen A3. Okay, so now, what do you think for black? Yeah, let me ask you for black. Yeah, what do you think black did here? If you were black, maybe let me flip the board there. Do you feel more comfortable or less comfortable playing black pieces? What do you think? It's not so fun when you're the cramped one, right?
Like take the pawn on A5.
So take the pawn. Okay. Open up the file, make some exchanges. All right, it's a possibility. I mean, this rook is pretty painfully blocked completely. This rook can't move at all. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. It's not what he did, but okay. What else?
How about F6?
Yes, F6 is the move he played. Why? Because now we're trying to undermine this the pawn on E5, right, from protecting the knight. So F6 is the correct move for him here. Okay, so F6. So now what is black threatening? Let's say it's black's move here. So what is black threatening to do? Black has a little threat here.
Well, if he pushes the F pawn again, now he's got the bishop and the queen on the diagonals going into the king side.
If black pushes here to
Now
F.
Exactly. And now he's got the bishop and the queen both on diagonals going to the king side.
Okay. All right. That's one idea. More specifically, though, he is threatening F takes E5, D takes E5, and then knight takes E5, and if the knight takes back, then the queen takes the other knight, and so black has won a pawn and gotten rid of this nice outpost. So if instead, let's look at this again. If it's black's move, it's white's move, but if it's black's move, F takes E5, D takes, and then knight takes, but then white sees that if he takes back with the knight, black's gonna recapture the other knight. So instead, he goes F takes, D takes, knight takes, and then before recapturing that knight, white says, you know what? Let me take a moment and capture this bishop. Right. So now what can black do? Can anybody see that far? So F takes, E takes, right? F takes, D takes, knight takes, and so here white says. So what is this called? Right? Like black expects white to take here, or sorry, white expects black to take here, but first he does a move before doing the obvious move. What is that called? Anybody remember what that's called?
It's like the weird German word.
Yeah, Zwischenzug, or in between move, right? It's an intermezzo, intermediate move, right? So he does knight takes e8, hoping that the queen's going to take back, and then he just takes the other knight. But if he doesn't, so knight takes e8, and then black does an intermezzo of his own. Knight takes f3 is a check, right? So that's pretty nice. So then queen takes, and then the queen takes back the knight. So after all that, black still won a pawn. All right. Okay. So basically, that's what black's threatening with f6, right? So so white realizes that this e5 pawn is getting shaky, and then by extension the d6 pawn is getting shaky. So Capablanca thinks, you know what? So let me liquidate and let me do some exchanges. So here's the thing, right? When you have a space advantage, you can try to gain your space advantage. That's good, but sometimes there comes a point where you have to convert that to a different advantage, right? So now Capablanca comes to the conclusion that let me convert my space advantage to a different kind of advantage, right? So this is a very good decision. So knight takes e8. He gets rid of his beautifully placed knight for this unfortunately this unfortunate bishop on the back rank. So it seems kind of like a weird move, but we'll see what happens. How does this result? So a bunch of exchanges occur. Queen takes e8, f takes. Sorry, he takes here, and then g takes. Okay, so now white to move. So what do you think white did here? Oh, and by the way, what's the reason he took with the g pawn? And why didn't he take with the knights? What do you think?
You don't have that isolated pawn.
Oh yeah, isolated. Not only isolated, but backward, right? Even more weak, right? So now white can just basically pile up on this pawn right here on e6, and most likely win it very easily, right? There's no pawns on either file to protect it, right? So that's why he took with the g pawn, even though it kind of opens up his king. He figured that he doesn't want an isolated pawn there. So okay, so white to move here. What do you think white did here?
Queen E3.
Queen e3. No,
Oh,
knight.
No.
No. Okay, what else?
What about queen to b3?
Queen to b3. Okay, what do you guys think? Good move or not so good move? What do you think?
Pins the queen again.
Yeah, we're walking into this pin right here, right? And then we have b takes, and now black's gonna win this pawn as well. So yeah, no good. All right, what else?
How about queen to d3?
Queen to d3. Okay. Oh no, actually no good. You just dropped this pawn. Yeah, no, I don't see a follow up there. Yeah. I mean, a natural move in this position would be rook to e8, just putting the rook on the half open file, on the other half open file. So we're putting pressure on these two pawns, right? That would be a natural move, although Capablanca didn't do that either. So again, he's following his plan of liquidating and exchanging, and hopefully creating more weaknesses that he can focus on after that. So he played b5, right? So he wants to create even more weaknesses. Okay, so we'll see how that turned out. So this this c file looks like it's going to be imminently opened. So black prepared by doubling the rooks again. B takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, a takes. Okay, so now after all of these exchanges, so what has happened? So now, where is the weaknesses that that white can focus on in black's camp?
The half open G file.
Okay, good. The king is open. Okay, although it's kind of hard to get the pieces there quickly, but yeah. What else?
Rook's unprotected.
Say it again. The rook is protected.
Unprotected.
Oh, the unprotected. All right. You can. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. What else? So, what are some areas of the board of black's board that white can focus on now?
Well, his pawns are all separated too.
Right. So we got 3 pawn islands, right? We have 2 isolated pawns, and so these are definite weaknesses. The b6 pawn, definite weakness. h7 pawn, definite weakness, right? The e6 pawn, not really a weakness because it does have a brother here, but if we pile on the e file, they could potentially become a weakness as well. And maybe the bishop can come here to b5 and be on the same diagonal as the queen, so kind of become in a strong position there. So okay, so he goes rook e1, immediately targeting the e pawn and putting the rook on the same file as the queen. Okay, so immediately black removes the queen from the e file. All right, so what do you think? What do you think, white? What would you do if you were white here? What do you think?
How about bishop to a6?
Bishop to a6. Let's see here. Okay, you are attacking the queen. I mean, it's not really a strong attack, I'd say. Maybe the queen just comes up, something like that. No, I mean black has a pretty strong battery on the C file. It's got pretty strong control. So here, white chose to reroute the knight to a better square. So he went knight d2. All right, then black also brings the knight back. So now this e6 pawn is protected by the knight. So now his rook and queen are free to invade the white position. Okay. Then we have knight e4. Now this knight is targeting the weak pawn on f6. All right. Queen d8. Then we have... Okay, so what would you play for white? If you were white here, what would you play? What do you think the best move is here?
Queen G3.
Yeah, queen g3 is a good move. Transferring the queen to the king side and attacking the king. I mean, it's kind of hard to organize your pieces, though. I mean, the king can just move over, and the rook can kind of reroute and come to g7, and so now all of a sudden the g file is can be controlled by the rook. So that might prove to be a good thing for black. So I mean, that's a good idea. It's a logical idea. He didn't do that. He went h4. So that does 2 things. It creates some breathing space, some luft for the king. So eliminates back rank mate, and also maybe he can try to bring it to h6 and create like some kind of thorn in the white side, in the black side, and perhaps try to converge on g7, something like that. All right. So rook c7, queen b3. So rook g7. So now we see how black has now taken control of the g file, and is trying to use it for his own purposes. So yeah. So opening the opponent's king like that, you know, could sometimes backfire in this way. So g3, rook to a7. So now he abandons the g file. Bishop c4. All right. So now what is this threatening immediately? Bishop c4. What is white threatening?
Win the pawn on b6.
No. Although, yeah, taking the knight does remove a defender, but there's another little trick that white is threatening with bishop c4.
The exchange then, or no, never mind.
So this is an example of when
If,
yeah, go ahead.
if the black knight on d5, if it moves, then white can go knight to f6, or I should say it,
If this knight moves, you're saying?
yeah.
So
I was thinking about the queen.
okay, so you know, I always say that whenever you see a knight on the board, you should always be careful of forks, right? Because there's forks everywhere, right? So this is an example of a beautiful fork to win material. So I'm just going to make a random move for black. This is not the move he played, but rook a8 just to show you. So now we are attacking this knight twice, right? Bishop and queen. Bishop and the knight's protected by the queen and the pawn. So you would think that, oh, okay, just counting the pieces, the knight is well protected. However, there is a little trick here based on the king and the pawn here. So we have bishop takes, and even if the pawn takes back, what's the best move here? What do you guys think?
Queen takes.
Yeah, queen takes. Very beautiful move. All right, looks like we're giving away our queen, but we actually win it back in the very next two moves. Knight takes f6, royal fork, and after the king moves, knight takes, and now white has just won 2 pawns, and the win will be pretty easy after that. So yeah, that's a little trick that that white was threatening. So for that reason, black went rook a5 to protect the knight again a third time, so that trick does not work anymore. Then we have knight c3, increasing pressure. Knight takes c3, queen takes, king f7, again adding additional protection onto the weak pawn. Queen e3, so now maybe he's threatening to invade this way, perhaps. So queen d6, queen e4, or he comes up here. This is a very nice move. So now he's threatening to invade on b7, right? So basically what's happening here, and you see this in a lot of top level games, is that there's very there's a point where they're just playing slow moves. They're not one of them is really attacking all out really, but they're just testing each other's weaknesses, right? They're moving their pieces back and forth, testing the weaknesses, and hopefully a weakness will emerge that they can exploit, right? So queen e4 is very nice move, making sure the knight cannot move or else this pawn will be lost, but also threatening to invade on b7. All right, so then we have rook to a4, queen b7 check, king g6, queen c8, and then queen b4. So now,
What was that queen c8?
oh, queen c8. So the bishop was under attack, right? So
Oh, right.
yeah. So he further invades the black territory. And actually, yeah, this does a couple of things. So it protects the bishop, also adds additional pressure onto the e6 pawn, and also is putting pressure on on the f8 knight. So quite a few things. Very nice move. Queen b4, again, very nice move. The double attack. You can say forking the rook and the bishop. All right, so it's easy to protect both, but that's a good, just another example of a multi-purpose move that you often see in top level games. So rook c1, queen e7. So the queen drops back to protect his king. So he doesn't want to allow the queen to invade even further. Perhaps here with a check, something like that. So he defends his king. Now we have bishop d3 check. King h6. Okay, so white to move. What would you play here for white? What do you think?
Rook c7.
Yeah, rook c7. Very good move. Rook takes the 7th rank. Yeah, by the way, the rooks, they're very powerful on the 7th and the 2nd ranks, right? So if you're white, would be the 7th rank, and for black would be the 2nd rank. And everybody sure that phrase, the pig on the 7th rank? Has anybody heard that phrase? The pig on the 7th? Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean? I see Monty saying yes. What does it mean?
Get the rooks on the 7th rank, they gobble everything up like pigs.
Right, because most of the pawns, or some of the pawns at least, would still be on their original squares, and so it's very easy to attack all of them, right? Once the rook is on the 7th rank, if you're white, or the 2nd rank if you're black, right? So the pig on the 7th. So yeah, rook c7, very powerful move, taking control of the 7th rank. Black delivers a quick check. Rook a1, king h2, queen d6. All right, white to move. What would you play here?
Rook to c6.
Rook to c6. Okay, good move. Attacking the queen and the pawn. So now we got to be careful. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, the queen can't really leave. Can't leave this diagonal because the queen's going to be leaving the protection of the knight, and white will take it with check. All right, it's a good move. There's actually a stronger move though than rook c6. What do you think?
Rook f7.
Rook f7. Okay, so putting additional pressure on the knight. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe he can just save his knight this way. I mean, he's probably still winning for white. Maybe he puts pressure this way and he's going to win this pawn. I mean, he's probably still winning for white, definitely. But there's actually a quicker way to finish off black. So I'll give you a hint. Black resigned in actually it's a mate in 2 moves. It's not a forced mate, but it's basically winning in 2 moves. So either it was a mate or he would have resigned.
Bishop h7.
Bishop h7. Let's see, knight take. Well, actually no, that's not even a check. Again, probably wins also, but there's just a quicker way. Yeah, quicker way. What do you think?
Queen b8.
Queen b8. Right here? Or D or no, not D8, yeah, b8. All right, so I guess you're threatening a discovery. Okay. Interesting. Not the movie played, but okay, interesting idea. All right, what else? We need a forceful and strong move. Okay, so I'll help you guys out. So when you look at any puzzles, the first move you always look for is what?
Loose pieces.
Okay, so you look at loose pieces. That's when you evaluate the position, right? But then after you evaluate, then the first move, the most forceful move that you think of first is what?
Check.
Check, right? So look at all checks, right? So we looked at, so what do we look at? No, we didn't even look at rook h7. That just kind of drops the rook for no reason. So what's another check here?
Queen f8.
Queen takes f8, right? Now, why would you do that? Why would you give away your queen, right? So is there any good reason to give away the queen here? What do you think?
Well, then you could do rook h2.
And then, so
no.
that's what he played. Queen takes f8 check, followed by what?
Rook h7.
Very simple, very direct finish to the game, right? Very beautiful. So yeah, this is the game. Capablanca versus Lasker, 1921, Havana. So, what do you guys think of the game?
Who won it? Who was white?
Say again?
Who was white?
Oh, white was Jose Raul Capablanca, the third world champion.
No, I just didn't know which one was which. Okay.
Yeah. So, any comments, questions, observations? What do you think of this game?
Try to absorb it all.
Say again?
Trying to absorb it all.
Uh-huh. Was it I thought it was a pretty good way to demonstrate how to slowly increase your positional advantage, and then when to know when to convert, right?
Mhm.
Like that's also an important thing. Like you could be winning by whatever material, a rook or a queen or something, but sometimes it's good to exchange that for a different type of advantage, right? Positional advantage or whatever. So I think that's a very important lesson as well. Always be willing, you have to be fluid, right, with your advantage, and know when to change it or make an exchange. Yeah. All right. So that's that. Any questions? What do you think, Samantha? Was it pretty clear, or is it all lost on you?
Well, this one I think may have to watch a few times.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm just starting to get accustomed to thinking several moves ahead, and
Yeah.
then variables that are kind of thrown into the mix too.
Yeah. I mean, if on week 1 we went over the basics, like the opening principles, and some punishments for people who violate opening principles. So that was week 1. So yeah, I can send you that lecture so you can look that over. I think that might help also a lot, because you kind of jumped in the middle. We're already going over these more advanced topics here, but it's okay. I think there's still benefit we can derive from this one. So cool. All right. So yeah, so next week we'll do another game of deep analysis like this, and hopefully you guys derive some benefit from it as well.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so great seeing you all. Any other questions, by the way, before we go?
No.
Everybody good? Awesome.
Yep.
All right, cool. So good seeing you all. I will see you again next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful week.
All right, you
Thank
too.
you. You
Take
too.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.